This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's number one show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place to tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Good afternoon, folks. How are you doing today, Sunday? Hopefully things are well because you go back to work tomorrow. So I want you to get a chance to relax today. But Andy's back with us off vacation. Andy, what's popping with you, man? How you feeling?
What up, Sim? Happy to be back, like you said, from vacation. Really short one. I only had to watch 2 games on the road. So I was happy that they had actually, the early games on the Monday and Tuesday, I think it was, or Saturday, or Sunday and Tuesday on Monday. And the next 3 days were off. So I'm happy about that. I can easily watch this game at home comfortably in my, place of comfort that I am, getting my notepad out, that I'm taking notes and stuff like that. Wasn't able to do that on vacation, but I'm happy, I got to get out for a couple of days from this regular life stuff.
Without a doubt. I think the biggest news, I don't know if you've missed any really big news. I think the biggest news right now today is that Jalen Brunson is questionable.
Yeah. I didn't miss any news, but him being questionable, I still think he's going to give it a go.
I do too.
Me personally, I don't see, neither him or Tibbs wanting to run this game, without him. It might be, a really bad experience, not only for the fans.
Yeah, I certainly hope that he can go. Although I do want him to be healthy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we need him for the remainder of the season. It's not going to be good if he's not healthy. You know what I mean? But, in the last game, I forgot who it was, but fell on his leg. And he was able to continue that game. But I'm sure it's, he suffered some soreness.
That was 2 games ago, Sim, because last game was the Blazers game, and I think he bumped, knees with Nurkic or one of the big men, because that was the previous game that someone fell on him right under the hoop. But listen, he
that was 2 games ago, right?
Yeah, OKC, I think it was Muscala or someone like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but listen, Sim, they say that it's a bruise. I think a bruise is way better than a strain or anything kind of, like torn, of course, because it's only, it's going to be painful, right? But it's not like you can probably make it worse, because if you have a strain, you can, like upgrade the grade of the strain. Meanwhile, the bruise, I think it's only time. Time is going to heal you.
Right. Exactly.
Only thing bad with bruises is I hope he's not going to compensate, like, for example, with his other leg or other side or stuff like that, because that goes weird. I had my ACL torn twice. I know what I'm talking about, that you compensate. I know, listen, all my shoes that I walk around home, I see how they are, different from side to side. So after just like a half a year. So
yeah, and with a bruise, the only other thing that I could say is, depending on where that bruise is, if the bruise is in your knee and your leg, it could be hard or at least painful to push off on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which, could slow you down a little bit. I think if he plays, he'll be okay. And he's tough. He takes a beating when he's out there. You know what I'm saying? When you watch him play, he really does take a beating, and he just battles through it. So I expect that he's going to play today.
Me too.
But if he doesn't, what do you think the Knicks do?
Well, I think we're going to start IQ in that spot. I don't see anyone else filling in the starting lineup. unless Tibbs does something Tibbs like put back Fournier in the starting lineup just because. because we've seen him rotating the centers. Like for example, Sims had a couple of starts. Meanwhile, Iheart could go, so he jumped to the third option instead of going with the second option.
Right.
Listen, you never know with Tibbs, but I think the easiest way out here is just trying IQ as a starting point guard.
Playing IQ at the point guard spot. No way you try Deuce. And you're not gonna ask him to do much, but he can play defense. He can shoot the three, shoot the mid range.
Me personally, for me, it makes sense because IQ, without getting the touches, the shots up, you're just taking away his one hand, right? Because it's like that's his game. Right. And if he's going to be with RJ and with Julius, there's not that many shots left. Right. We see that we have Brunson, RJ, and Julius. Meanwhile, Cam, Grimes, or whatever, they barely get a shot up.
Right.
So if if you let IQ fill in that spot, one, you're going to have a hole on the bench because there's literally who's going to be scoring off the bench. It's going to be Obi and Hartstein. So I don't know about that because Deuce is not a scorer. Meanwhile, plugging in Deuce actually makes sense because he just has to dribble up the ball, pass it, run the offense. Don't take the shots that Brunson is taking. So
right,
that wouldn't be a bad idea.
The only thing there is it leaves more shots for RJ who can't make anything.
Yeah,
and then see if Deuce starts, if Brunson is out, and for those who are just joining us, Jalen Brunson is questionable. We're not saying he's out; he's questionable. Cam Reddish is questionable. Derrick Rose is questionable. For the Memphis Grizzlies, Desmond Bane is out. Danny Green is out. They got a couple other guys who are also out. Xavier Tillman is out. Zaire Williams continues to be out. All right, but if Jalen Brunson does not play today, which I think he's going to play, but if he doesn't play today and you start Deuce, even if you start quickly, I think you're still looking at Julius Randle being the facilitator out there and everything going through Julius Randle, right? So then things are going to look a lot like they did last season. And it's going to depend on whether or not Julius Randle is having a good game or a bad game.
Exactly.
And I don't think anybody wants to see that right now. Right.
Listen, I still think I'd rather go, running the offense through Julius than through RJ at this point.
Oh, yeah, I'm not. Yeah, that's without a doubt. Because RJ is really, really struggling to find his way right now. You know what I mean? Ladies and gentlemen, tonight the Knicks take on, or 6 p.m., the Knicks take on the Memphis Grizzlies. It's an early game. Remember that. It's an early game tonight. Just taking a look at their previous matchup. Remember the game, it was the first game of the season, went into overtime. The Knicks were down, 19 points in that game? They made a furious comeback, sent the game into overtime, right?
Yeah.
The game was in overtime, right? The Grizzlies won the game 115-112. They out-rebounded the Knicks by 10. The Knicks had 28 assists that game. I don't know if the Knicks have been back to 28 assists since that game. And let me bring that. Let me bring the stats back. Stop this. There we go. I don't know if the Knicks have had 28 assists since then. I have to check and look. Maybe they have. They might have had a game that was there, maybe more. Have they had a 30 assist game yet, the Knicks?
I'm not sure, but listen, lately it's easy to see that we are a little bit reverting to hero ball, right? Because whoever has the ball between Brunson, Julius, or RJ, they are looking to shoot first instead of run the offense,
right.
And I think that's getting a little bit being a little bit of a problem for the whole Knicks squad at this point.
Yeah, the Knicks went from, at the beginning of the season, averaging 27 to 28 assists per game, and now they're all the way down to like 23. Right? And now the shooting is down as well. In the beginning of the season, the shooting was up pretty high. They were 47% from the field. The Knicks are down to like 45%. But also in that first matchup, the Knicks only shot 40% from the field. They shot 24% from three, but Memphis didn't shoot much better. They were 38.9% from the field and 34% from three. It was a really good basketball game. The Knicks couldn't do much with Ja Morant, and I don't expect that they're going to be able to do much with Ja Morant tonight. Right? Ja Morant had 34 points and 9 assists against the Knicks. Remember that kid, Santi Aldama. He started at the power forward spot because Jaren Jackson Jr. was out. He had 18 points and 11 rebounds. He was 3 for 8 from the three-point line. He was 50% from the field. Desmond Bane had 16 points and 6 assists. John Concar had 12 points and 11 rebounds. Tyus Jones had 15 points off the bench. They had contributions all over the floor, sometimes from people that we weren't aware of who they were. Right? For the Knicks, Jalen Brunson had 15 points and 9 assists that game. He didn't really shoot well. He shot 38.9% from the field, 25% from the three-point line. Julius Randle led the team in scoring with 24 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. Evan Fournier had 14 points. Cam Reddish had 22 points that game. Remember, Cam Reddish hit some big shots that game and knocked down the three to send the game into overtime. Hartenstein had 16 points, 8 rebounds. RJ had 11 points. He didn't shoot well, not surprisingly, right? He was 3 for 18 from the field, 11 points, 8 rebounds. Right? Tonight's game could be, there's going to be a different group of players playing basketball tonight for both teams, as a matter of fact. All right, but do you take anything from the previous matchup as looking at these numbers?
Well, it's really hard to do that because, for one, they didn't have Jaren Jackson Jr.
Right.
And this game, they don't have Desmond Bane. So those are basically 2 key guys in their rotation and even the starting lineup. And if Brunson doesn't play, then that makes it, a totally new game because the Knicks run the whole offense, and he's literally the number one guy, maybe not the number one scoring option, but the number one guy as far as facilitating the offense for the Knicks. So if he's out,
I mean, I
don't know any of.
I'm going to be honest with you. Right now, Jalen Brunson to me is the guy.
Yeah,
that's the way that I feel when I'm watching the games. He's the guy. It runs through him. If he can score, if he can get to the basket and score, he's going to score. When it gets down into the crunch time, it's Jalen Brunson's world.
Yeah. So missing a piece like him, it's if fans want to say we're going to be playing like the last year's Knicks, I could see that because, this team without Jalen Brunson is nothing more than last year's Knicks.
Yeah, that's no doubt about it. Since this matchup, ladies and gentlemen, the Memphis Grizzlies won the matchup. Since this matchup, well, the Knicks, they're 9-10 on the season. The Memphis Grizzlies are 11-8. And they have very similar numbers for the season so far. Right? The Knicks average 114 points per game. Memphis averages 115. 46 rebounds for the Knicks, 48 for the Grizzlies. 23.7 assists per game for the Knicks, 24.2 for the Grizzlies. That's that number I was just talking about, that assist number. The Knicks assists are down from 27 to 28 to just about 24 per game. Right? 7.4 steals for the Knicks, 6.9 for the Grizzlies. 4.9 blocks for the Knicks, 5.3 for the Grizzlies. Numbers are very similar. 14 turnovers for the Knicks, 14 turnovers for the Grizzlies. The Knicks shoot 45% from the field. The Grizzlies 46.1% from the field. Right? Now, here's where there's a little bit of a difference. The Knicks are 31.6% from the three-point line, and the Grizzlies 36.2%. Right? I mean, that's not great, but it's better than the Knicks. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the Knicks shooting 80.2% from the free throw line, and the Grizzlies are shooting 69.6% from the free throw line. Anything about these numbers stand out to you? And at least, like I said, the teams, record-wise, the Grizzlies have a winning record. The Knicks do not. Obviously, the Grizzlies have a star on the team. The Knicks do not. And that could be the big difference between their two records right now. But is there anything else in there that you find, striking between the two?
Also, like you said, numbers say that these teams should be really similar to each other. Meanwhile, the numbers don't say how the ball and the game is played.
Right.
I think, the Memphis Grizzlies are much of an up-tempo team. I think the pace is higher for them, but they also stretch the floor towards the shooters because, Ja, whenever he breaks down the defense, he looks for the shooters. On the Knicks side, whenever we break down the defense, say we, I mean RJ, Julius, or Jalen Brunson, they're looking to score for themselves. And I think that's the bigger difference. It's easier to defend the Knicks compared to the Grizzlies. And listen, we are almost 25% into the season.
25.
It's going to be almost it's like 20 games in basically. So it's starting to be that sample size that you can judge teams, and they could have an easier schedule. The Grizzlies, compared to the Knicks. Then again, Sim, we're Knicks fans. Whenever we watch look at the schedule, it's like, oh, these next 5 games are going to be tough. After the 5 games, it's like one Pistons game. Oh, damn, those next 5 games going to be tough. So that only means Sim, that we are not confident in this roster and we are not solid. That's why we fear each and every stretch of games.
Right. I mean, they are coming into a tough stretch. This is the beginning of a tough. You could actually say Portland is the beginning of a tough stretch, but this begins competition-wise and the way the schedule is structured. 5 games in 7 nights. They play Memphis. They play Detroit. They play the Bucks. I forgot who else they play. I gotta go check it out.
The Hawks definitely.
So it does begin a pretty tough stretch for the Knicks.
Yeah, and I would be more worried about the 5 games in 7 days than actually the competition and the back-to-backs, right? Because we went on a 5-game road streak, and we were thinking we're going to come back 1-4 or 0-5. We came back 3-2.
Right.
So that was huge for me. I think this team. Listen, it's hard to say that they have character because if they have character, it's bad character. I don't like that kind of character. but at least they're showing the fight, the grit in some games. Meanwhile, the effort is not 100% in every game. And that is, the thing that bothers the Knicks. I think, record-wise, I think before the season, we wouldn't be that far off of the record that we predicted. Around 500, we were -1, right? To like one loss more to 500, right? So I think the record-wise, it's not that bad for Knicks and the Knicks fans. Meanwhile, the style we lost a couple of these games, that's the thing that bothers the Knicks fan base. And I think it bothers the Knicks players also because, for example, if RJ had, not even better games, even mediocre games, because he has a stretch in these 20 games, it's like 6 horrible games, Sim. Literally any one of us could, play in, in RJ's shoes and make 3 shots out of 20. Because, that's really horrendous as far as I see it. And I'm surprised that he, as a person and as a player, is still taking those shots. Because if I'm, like 0 for 5 and then I make one shot, cool, you just take another shot, right? But you're not taking another 5 missed shots to make the third shot, and it's going to be like the 17th shot you're
So
taking.
when, let me ask you, Andy, when, if you're Tom Thibodeau, when are you beginning to limit his number of shots?
Oh, that was a couple of games back. it's past due, bro. That's really past, And Sim, I'm not saying to bench by any means RJ, because this Knicks team runs so much offense that replacing him, not only minutes wise but even shot wise, it's going to be hard, and it's going to be a totally different game plan.
Yeah.
I'm cool with him taking open shots. I'm cool with him driving sometimes. But if you are 0 for 5, the next bucket you are trying to get is like an open layup,
Used to be at the basket.
not contestant, make a dunk, whatever. See the ball go through the hoop. Like,
Right.
be certain about it.
Yeah.
Don't pull a fadeaway, shot in traffic, something like that. Don't do it. Just don't take the shot. Teams are going to say, oh, listen, he lost his confidence. No, he didn't lose his confidence. He's just a regular person and not being, a bad teammate, because we saw last 2 games, at least I noticed it, that Obi was mad at RJ because he was standing on a 3-point line with his hands high up and waiting for the ball. Meanwhile, RJ took a shot when he was like 1 and 8. And me as a teammate, for a player like that, I would be a little bit upset.
Yeah. Yeah. Part of it is I think RJ is so concerned about getting on track. That's where his mind is. You know what I mean? It's not on, okay, let me, who's available, do I have, am I making the right play? It's right now, I think it's all about, I'm trying to get myself out of this situation.
Well, Sim, for me as a player, when I had a bad game shooting wise, I tried to get that stop. And if I had that steal, had that block, had that defensive rebound, I felt a little bit more confident to, let's say, not lose the ball. But even if I shot and didn't make the shot, my teammates would be cool with me because I worked on the defensive end. That's not the case with RJ. Sometimes it doesn't matter for him. He's going to take 3-4 possessions in a row and try to take those shots. And for me, that's unacceptable because he's not a shooter. Let's try to separate these two things. There are shooters in the NBA. RJ is not a shooter at this point, at least. And even if you're a shooter, you want to see the ball go through the hoop on a drive, on an easy bucket. Or if you get fouled, make a free throw, then try to attempt a shot.
Yeah.
RJ is going at the hoop on any cost possible. So,
yeah, I get it, man. I get it. We talked about it some in the last show. I talked about it on my 5 takeaways. We got to figure out something with RJ. Looking at, ladies and gentlemen, the projected starting lineups for tonight, 6 p.m. Again, Jalen Brunson is questionable. I think he's going to play, but he is questionable. Cam Reddish is questionable. Derrick Rose is also questionable. All right, for the Memphis Grizzlies, Desmond Bane is out. Danny Green is out. And I'm not sure who else they have out. But I know those are, some important guys that they have out. Let's see. Let me look. I'm going to tell you right now. Desmond Bane, Danny Green, Xavier Tillman, and Zaire Williams. I'm sorry, Xavier Tillman is questionable with a non-COVID illness. So that's where we are right now for tonight's game.
Yeah, and I think also the one of the key pieces for the Grizzlies is back and Dylan Brooks. I think he didn't play the first game.
He didn't. Yeah, so I think he's back. He's back.
Yeah.
Yep. For the Knicks, Jalen Brunson, Quentin Grimes, R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson. That's my projected starting lineup. as long as Jalen Brunson continues to play. If he doesn't, I do agree with you, though, Andy. If he does not play, I think it will be Emmanuel Quickly, not Deuce. Right? Because you're going to want to try to replace that scoring punch in the lineup, but then, of course, you're taking some scoring punch off the bench. I would also say, I don't know the status of Derrick Rose or Cam Reddish. If Brunson doesn't play, you might see Derrick Rose suited up as well. You know what I'm saying? Because, questionable for the Knicks is kind of, you probably can go if we need you, but go ahead and take the break, take the rest. You know what I mean? I think that's questionable for the Knicks. For the Memphis Grizzlies, you have Ja Morant at the starting point guard spot. John Concar, Dylan Brooks is at small forward. Jaren Jackson Jr. at power forward. And big Steven Adams at the center position. So, what makes this game different than the last game? Well, one, the players are different. Jaren Jackson Jr. didn't play the first game. Dylan Brooks didn't play the first game, right? You had a different group of guys that are playing. The Memphis Grizzlies still won that basketball game. Quentin Grimes did not play. Right. Instead, remember, I think it was R.J. Barrett started on Ja Morant, right? Oh, no.
Yes.
Was it R.J. Barrett?
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
R.J.
he was
Barrett, right?
most of the game. He was on Ja. So.
Yeah. So now you're looking at Quentin Grimes defending Ja Morant, and what you see on your screen now, ladies and gentlemen, is just the projected starting lineups, not the matchups. All right. I'm going to move over to what I think the Knicks' defensive matchups will be. So I think you'll have Quentin Grimes on Ja Morant. I mean, to me, that's got to be, there's nobody else. R.J. Barrett could do nothing with Ja Morant. And I'm not saying Quentin Grimes is going to shut him down, but he'll do better than what R.J. Barrett did in that first game, in my opinion. Right? He'll make it a little bit tougher, I think. Jalen Brunson on Concar, R.J. Barrett on Dylan Brooks, Julius Randle on Jaren Jackson Jr., and then Mitchell Robinson and Sam Adams. I mean, not Sam Adams. That's a beer, ladies and gentlemen. Steven Adams. I don't know. I got Samuel Adams beer stuck in my head when I'm seeing S. Adams on my screen. Right? Steven Adams, not Sam Adams. Your thoughts, Quentin Grimes and Ja Morant?
Well, Sim, I think you got the matchups correctly. I don't think, unless Quickly is starting or Deuce, then maybe you see Deuce on Ja. Maybe that's a possibility. But I think with the starting lineup that you said, I think that's going to be the defensive matchups.
Yeah,
for both of the teams.
I think you're right. That would be if Quentin Grimes, if Miles McBride were to start because Brunson is out. Yeah, I think he would match up with Ja Morant.
Yeah. And Sim, let's be clear about it. I don't think there's a player on the Knicks roster that can stop Ja Morant. I think it has to be a team effort, but that main guy that's hunting him down the whole full court, I think it should be a guy like Deuce or a guy like Quentin Grimes, young guy, fast, definitely fast, because Ja is one of the fastest guys in the league, so it's going to be way easier to keep up with him, and then all the hands on deck and try to slip in a poke of the ball somewhere here, somewhere there, because Ja, I think he might be one of the leaders going to the paint and taking shots. I know that Jalen Brunson is like from 5 to 9 feet range, like the leader in the NBA. But I think Ja is around the hoop. He's one of the main guys in the whole league. So
yeah, it is no doubt about it. No doubt about it. He's one of the best finishers in the league around the hoop. How do you see that? Yeah, I mean, John Concar, hopefully I'm saying his name correctly. I think he's averaging 8 or 9 points per game. He's 6'5", not a major scorer for the Memphis Grizzlies, which is the reason why I have Jalen Brunson guarding him. But then you have R.J. Barrett and Dylan Brooks. What's your thoughts on that?
Also, we know that Dylan Brooks has good games offensively. It's not on a daily basis, but whenever someone sees the Knicks on the schedule, I think that's time that they a little bit warm up. So I could see Dylan Brooks hitting a three here and there. And let's be true. I hope that RJ has a good game defensively and offensively, because I don't think we can afford missing Brunson and having a bad game from RJ to get a W versus the Grizzlies today.
Right. Listen, Dylan Brooks is averaging 17.3 points per game so far this season. 17.3 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 2.7 assists. And he shoots it at 34% from the three-point line. So it's not like he's shooting super great, but he's decent, and then he's shooting 40% from the field. I think the one thing about Dylan Brooks, though, is I think he's physical.
Yeah, really gritty player.
Yeah, gritty, physical guy on both sides of the ball, and he'll probably guard R.J. Barrett as well, which could make it difficult for R.J., more difficult for R.J. than it's already been. Than the level of difficulty he's putting on himself. You know what I mean? So I think that's one of the key matchups out here tonight. R.J. Barrett and Dylan Brooks. I think that's one of the keys. We need R.J. to match his output efficiently. I'm sure R.J. will find a way to get 17 to 20 points, but will it be efficient? That's going to be the question. You know what I mean? And then you have Julius Randle and Jaren Jackson Jr. All right. Your thoughts on that matchup?
Wilson, we know that Julius Randle probably averages way better numbers than Jaren Jackson Jr., though I think that's a bad matchup for the Knicks. For one, Jaren Jackson Jr. is one of the best post defenders in the NBA. I think his block numbers, even is really high up there in the league. And on the offensive end, he can stretch the floor. He's not going to take 6-7 threes, but he can stretch the floor. And we know that Julius has a problem going out to the three-point line and defending guys out there, at least the big man, because he's, I know that it's the defensive scheme that they clog the paint, but you can't afford to do that with a Jaren Jackson Jr. that can stretch the floor. And I'm not saying that he's a good post player, but he has that, small hook play and stuff like that, a little bit of post moves. It might be a hard night for Julius unless he's really, really hot.
Yeah. Now, the thing about Jaren so far this season, Jaren Jackson Jr. is he's played 4 games. So he might still be kind of getting in shape, if you want to say that, right? He's averaging 18 points a game, 6.3 rebounds. So far, he's taking 5.3 3-point attempts per game. He's only shooting 28%. But that means nothing when you play the Knicks. Because somebody who hasn't been hot will get hot versus the Knicks. You know what I'm saying? And I agree. I think this is a tough matchup for Julius Randle. He's 6'10". He's got 2 inches on Randle. He's a good defensive big. I think that that gives Randle a little bit of trouble when Randle is, trying to get inside. I hope it doesn't result in Randle shooting, 10, 12 threes today, unless he's hitting them. If he's hitting them, go ahead and shoot them. But I still want to see Randle try to take it inside, maybe get Jaren Jackson in a little bit of foul trouble, which, could happen because, it's going to be 2 guys banging down there. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be banging. They're going to be playing hard. But I think Jaren Jackson Jr. does, cause a matchup problem for Julius Randle. Randle hasn't been good defending the 3 at all. Opposing 4s that have the ability to shoot the 3, they've been successful in knocking down that 3 versus Julius Randle. You know what I mean? Again, Jaren Jackson is coming into the game shooting just 28.6%, but we don't want to give him the chance to light it up. All right, and this is about, let me see, last year he shot 31.9% from three. The season before then he shot 28.3%. He did have a season where he shot 39% from three. That was a few years back. That was 19-20. And then in 18-19, he shot 36% from three. Right? So he's had a couple of years where he could shoot it, but recently he hasn't been shooting it all that well from the three-point line. It's about, what he's shooting now is pretty close to his average. So I don't know, but everybody, if he can shoot 28%, he'll have a night when he's going to light it up. We don't want it to be tonight. You know what I mean? And I'm just concerned about, Julius Randle and covering that three-point line because he doesn't do it well. Doesn't close out well. He defends so deep into the paint he can't get out. And then when he can't get out, he might take a step or two towards the guy and then look to get the rebound. You know what I mean? Or, I don't know how many times this year, though, we've just seen players be scot-free outside the three-point line, whether it's Julius Randle's fault or RJ Barrett's fault. You know what I mean? Just wide open out there on the three-point line. It's been ridiculous this season. You know what I mean? D-Ray Light said Concar shot 44% from three the last time we played them. He's a sniper. He'll have 20 points tonight, maybe even a career high tonight. He said, I hate feeling so down on my squad. Listen, it's possible. It is possible. No doubt about it. He's averaging like 9 points a game or something like that. But, a guy that can shoot against the Knicks, 8.4 points per game for Concar. A guy that can shoot against the Knicks, ladies and gentlemen, is dangerous. Mitchell Robinson and Steven Adams. Andy, any thoughts with that matchup right there?
Well, I think this is also a matchup problem. We know that Mitch is a good defensive player, but they're not featuring Steven Adams on the offensive end unless the whole defense collapses and Ja or whoever just dishes out an easy pass for an easy bucket, right? So I think we can't blame Mitch Robinson for whatever Steven Adams scores today, unless it's off of offensive rebound and an easy putback. Then I think it's a point to blame Mitch. On the offensive end, we know that Mitch is a great offensive rebounder, but Steven Adams is a great box out center, and he's wildly strong, one of the strongest guy in the league. So I think this is also a bad matchup for Mitch, unless we play like a pace that they're not able to set up the whole defense. And I think that this might be a good key to the game,
right?
Both for Julius and for Mitch, because in a setup, stand-up half-court game, I think we're going to have a bigger problem than just in a fast-paced running game versus these guys. Yeah. And I would never say that before this season started, but currently with the problems that RJ is having and the matchups in the front court, I think that might be the decision to go with.
Yeah. Would you take a chance? We know how well Steven Adams can rebound the basketball. Would you take a chance on, and he's probably the best offensive rebounder in the game. I know Tom Thibodeau thinks it's Mitchell Robinson, but it's probably Steven Adams still. But would you consider going small, even for a couple of minutes, just to see how Memphis reacts? Try to get Steven Adams out the game if he's really being a problem.
Yeah, me personally, Sim, I'm flexible. I would consider anything that works, even if it works for a couple of possessions, stops working, then I'm adjusting again. Mm-hmm. And just to throw out another adjustment that I would do, I would try to play Sims versus Steven Adams a little bit more, because Sims is maybe not like he's fresh in the NBA, but he definitely has more college qualities of a center, more boxing out, more schematic, gameplay,
right?
Instead of Mitch. Mitch didn't have the opportunity to play college, but we saw even Sims last couple of games, he was icing the pick and roll high. And I was like, oh, this is something new. But then again, a couple of plays later, he didn't do that. So it probably was one of those things that you played like 4 years in college and you did this every time. And he like literally forgot that he shouldn't be doing this, but he did it.
But
right?
he did it.
Yeah,
right.
but he did it. And I think, one thing that Sims has over Adams is the jumping ability, because Steven Adams is not a great jumper. But strength-wise, I think he matches up way better than Mitch Robinson. And positioning-wise, boxing out-wise, I think it might be our best shot to play versus a center like Adams with Jericho Sims. But then again,
Yeah, I mean, listen, Jericho Sims has really been playing well. He's had a couple of, I think he's had a couple of double games already this season. He's proven that he deserves some minutes out there on the floor. I mean, and I do agree. He's not going to be as strong as Steven Adams, but he can provide a little bit more. He can battle Steven Adams, I think, a little bit better down there. Now, Steven Adams is going to be way taller than Sims, though, right? Because Sims is like 6'10", and I think Steven Adams is at least 7 foot. Oh, he's 6'11". So I mean, he looks so much bigger than that when he's out there. But I do agree. I think that Sims can battle him a little bit better strength-wise. Tonight may be a night, though, where you need all three of your centers. I mean, Tom Thibodeau's been doing that anyway, but tonight may be a night where you really do need all three guys out there. I think what Mitchell Robinson has to do against Steven Adams is try to use – he's not going to post him up, obviously, and he's not going to score. But if the Knicks can try to find Mitchell Robinson in a couple of alley-oop situations, Mitchell Robinson, we need him to hit the offensive glass because the Knicks aren't shooting well. Make sure he's hitting that offensive glass, getting a few putbacks. The problem is Mitchell Robinson, Steven Adams is going to be down there under the basket because Mitchell Robinson doesn't shoot the ball. And this is where Hartenstein could be useful tonight. Even though he's not hitting the shot, he's not shooting well from three at all, but he's a threat. He's a threat to pull that little runner in the lane. He's a threat to pull a mid-range shot. He's a threat to pull a three. And, this could pull Adams out the paint a little bit more to allow RJ to grab some boards. He's been rebounding well, to allow Julius Randle to grab boards, even offensive boards. You know what I'm saying? So that may be a strategy that you use. I think Tom Thibodeau's going to have to tinker a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely so.
But Hartenstein had a good game the last time they played. I think it was 16 points, 8 rebounds.
Yeah, in 40 minutes.
In 40 minutes. Yeah, in 40 minutes. So he played well the last time, and maybe he'll see those kind of minutes. I don't know if he's going to see those kind of minutes, but he may, because Mitchell Robinson could get in foul trouble. Especially, if you remember the previous game, Ja Morant continued to penetrate. Mitch would foul him. A couple of fouls against Steven Adams. There's that chance that Mitchell Robinson could be in foul trouble again today.
Yeah, that's what I was going to add. That what we got to realize that the Knicks perimeter defenders play way better if they feel that they have Mitch behind them. I think Hartenstein isn't that kind of insurance for them, and they probably will be playing better with Mitch behind them, but Mitch is not going to be there 40 minutes. We know that. So right. I hope they adjust correctly. And in the last game, we saw that the refs and their calls really matter. So we got to adjust to the calls that the refs are doing. I'm not saying that, we lost the game because of the refs, but, some calls were questionable. And I think, that's on the players. That, I'm not expecting Tibbs to call timeout and say, listen, you see that these guys don't call that, then do that. I think this is the NBA. This is like the top 400, 500 players in the league and on the world, and they should know that they have to adjust. Even if it's a tryout foul, see if you can, get a chicken wing somewhere under the hoop, and they're gonna call it, or it's gonna be smooth.
Right.
So you gotta adjust to the refs calls. So we're not gonna get bullied. That's as simple as that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt. Looking at the bench units for the Knicks, as long as Jalen Brunson is continues to start tonight, remember he's questionable, so we'll see what happens with Jalen Brunson. But Emmanuel Quickly, Miles McBride, Obi Toppin, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Jericho Sims, bench unit for the Knicks. For the Memphis Grizzlies, and this is based on who was available in the previous game for the Memphis Grizzlies, right? They had David Roddy, Tyus Jones, Brandon Clark, and Jake Laravia. Okay, now because Memphis blew out the New Orleans Pelicans. They beat them 132-111. You also had Kenny Chandler, Kenny Lofton Jr., and Vince Williams Jr. get some playing time in that game, but I don't think they are part of the rotation. Okay, so for the Memphis Grizzlies, I don't know. When I'm looking at their bench unit, I'm not fearful. Tyus Jones had a good game against us the last time. Of course, they had a couple other guys playing that, played well versus us. That power forward played well against us. But I'm not looking at their bench and fearful of their bench. Brandon Clark last game had 12 points and 10 rebounds against the New Orleans Pelicans. Right? Tyus Jones had 9 points. David Roddy had 11 points. Okay, I mean, that's good. That's good output. Right? And their bench does 33.4 points per game. The Knicks bench is 37.3 points per game. The Knicks have one of the top 10 rebounding benches in the league at 19.4. As a matter of fact, I think that was number one previous to last game. 8.7 assists, that's top 10. I mean, the Memphis Grizzlies, eight assists, that's probably top 10 as well. For assists. And then they're not bad rebounding at about 16 per game. But looking at who's playing, who could possibly be playing tonight, I don't want to say I'm not fearful of them, right? Because anybody can get hot. But David Roddy averages 6 points per game, right? I don't know how fearful I'm going to be of David Roddy, right? Tyus Jones may be the guy that I'm most fearful of as far as their bench is concerned, right? He averages 10.5 points per game. He's probably who I'm most fearful of. Maybe Brandon Clark, right? Brandon Clark, he's averaging 9 points, just about 10 points per game. What's your feeling about the bench units?
Well, if we would be fully healthy, I would give the edge to the Knicks bench.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're going to be replacing starters with bench players, then our bench automatically is a little bit thinner, right?
Right, that's true. Right.
And just the factor without having D Rose on the bench, I think that's the biggest case, because he's the vet. He knows how to spread the ball, how to use these guys on the bench squad. And without D Rose, we saw that the bench didn't play perfect games, and I'm not so confident in this bench. If we put Sliding Quickly in the starting lineup, that's like literally Obi Toppin, because I'm not counting for points from Hartenstein or from Jericho Sims. They're gonna score a hoop here and there, but they're not creators for themselves, right? So, and without Cam, that's even
right. I'm gonna tell you,
that's hard. And those,
if Jalen Brunson cannot go and Emmanuel quickly slides into that starting lineup, I believe Derrick Rose plays.
And Sim, just to go that, with that line of thinking, I think both Jalen Brunson and Derrick Rose, even if they're not 100%, they're not gonna hurt you that bad
Right.
because they're vet players, they high IQ players, and they know if they have limits, they're not gonna, make a play that they know that they can't make, right? So they know the limitations of themselves, and they're gonna try to play a smart game. That's why I think, like you said, at least one of those guys is gonna play today.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think Jalen Brunson is still going to play. I still think he's going to play. Ladies and gentlemen, what are your keys tonight, Andy? What do the Knicks have to do to win this basketball game?
Except score more points. I think Sim. I think that would be the rebounding battle. That's for sure, because we're a little bit thin on in the front court as far as rebounding. I feel that way, at least. And I was thinking before, not even before this preview, before a couple of games back, is there a magic number for the Knicks?
As far as winning games?
Yeah, as far as winning games, for example, the opposition scores less than, I don't know, 15 threes. The Knicks are 11 and they're like 9 and 1 or something like that. I still didn't figure out the magic number. So that means that, we probably win a couple of games by luck.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be also the case, that we don't have a clear-cut formula for the Knicks to win each and every game, right? If they knew that if we stop these guys from shooting threes, we're definitely going to have a W. I still think that the Knicks don't know that key for them. They don't know the magic number, and that means that they don't have a clear-cut mentality and tactics to get ahead, in this season and in the winning schedule and the winnings in the winning column, and that's also a key for lack of an identity for the Knicks, because it's easy to say that, if we have hot players, we're going to win the game. We know that that's not going to be the case, and you can't count on that.
Yeah.
But it's I think the defensive battle, and for me personally, I would start the game with a higher pace and try to outrun them, not let them set up the defense. Because if they set up the defense, I think it's going to be way too hard for the Knicks to score without an RJ, being efficient, or without even Jalen playing. So
I do agree that the Knicks, right now, just there's not a true identity for this basketball team. They're not a defensive team. We don't know if they're actually a running team. They're not a three-point shooting team. How do they win games? What is it that they do? Maybe their identity, maybe sometime in the future, their identity is going to be that they don't have an identity.
Yeah.
And they can win in multiple ways.
Yeah, and same that, for today, it looks like they're going to let you shoot threes. If you don't make them, then they're going to win.
Right.
That's about identity you have.
The Memphis Grizzlies coming to the game 19th in defensive rating. And the Knicks are 23rd in defensive rating. Offensive rating, the Knicks are 15th and the Memphis Grizzlies are 9th. So, we'll see where that, as far as pace is concerned. Let's see, the Knicks are 11th in pace and the Grizzlies are 12th. I think this is going to be a good game.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a tight game. Mike Morgan said the Knicks got to stay out of foul trouble. We've seen the foul disparity against the Portland Trailblazers in the last game. That wasn't fun to watch. 51 free throw attempts by the Portland Trailblazers. 28 for Jeremy Grant. That was rough to watch, man, because I was getting frustrated. I'm not going to blame the game on the foul calls, but man, it seemed like everything was going Portland's way.
And Sim, I think that 28 free throws attempts, it's a season high for the whole league this year.
Wow.
And we've got to remember that Harden played a couple of games. Embiid played a couple of games. I think those guys should be, clear-cut leaders in free throws taken, right?
Yeah, right. That's crazy.
So
France Richard said to win, play defense. Yeah, the Knicks haven't been a good defensive team. They've got to play some defense. At some point, they got to play some defense. Gregory Castillo said, let Morant go for 50 and lock everybody else up. I don't know that we can lock everybody else up. I just don't know that this team has those kind of defenders on it. You know what I mean? I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I think we've got to do, in order to win this game or give ourselves a chance, we've got to make it a little tougher on John Morant. Right? Hopefully, Quentin Grimes can, at least in one-on-one situations, not allow him to go to the basket. He's going to get to the basket because there's going to be pick and rolls. There's going to be fast break situations where, whoever's closest to Ja Morant has to pick him up, et cetera, et cetera. But if Quentin Grimes can help, just make it tough on him, play him physical, keep him out of the paint from time to time, right? So then there's less pressure on Mitch and our bigs down there. I think we've got to rebound the ball, right? We can't last game they out-rebounded us by 10, 64-54. We got to get on the glass, especially if both teams do not shoot well. Then, you got to win the battle of the boards, right? Because if you're not shooting well and you're allowing them to grab defensive rebounds, they're going to get more possessions. You want to get more possessions, so you need to grab offensive rebounds and then vice versa. You know what I mean? So I think we got to win the battle of the boards. If Jalen Brunson is not playing, you need a really good game from Julius Randle because he's going to be the guy facilitating. So he needs to come through and play a really, really good floor game, I think. Can't have a ton of turnovers. The Knicks are going to need R.J. Barrett to play efficient basketball, I think, versus this team. There's a lot that the Knicks need to do, you know what I mean, to get a victory. And if Jalen Brunson is playing, we need Brunson to be Brunson. You know what I mean? He didn't score well versus them the first time. I think that'll change tonight as long as he's playing because I think he's feeling comfortable with his role with this basketball team. It should be a good game. I'm not sure the Knicks can get the win tonight. I feel like Ja Morant's going to be too much. Even though, you got a better defender on him, I feel like Ja's going to be too much. I don't know. I don't think the Knicks get the win tonight. What do you think?
Yes, and I think this is the first game that actually, if I would have to bet money, I think I would have to bet on the Grizzlies, unless someone is really really hot from the Knicks,
Right.
and I think the option that could get hot it's not in the rotation currently, so.
Right. I'd also like to see the Knicks not switch as much, especially tonight.
Yeah.
Right, because they've been doing a lot of switching. I talked about it in my last, 5 takeaways. I've talked about it twice so far doing those 5 takeaways. The Knicks, they did a lot of switching versus Portland, and I felt like it came back to bite them on several occasions. You know what I mean? You cannot continuously, especially tonight, if you think you're going to switch Ja Morant, if you think you're going to allow Mitchell Robinson to switch on to Ja Morant and that's going to be successful, that's a big mistake. Or Julius Randle, that's going to be successful. That's a big mistake. Guards can't stay in front of this guy. What makes you think that one of our bigs can stay in front of him? You know what I mean? I think it'd be a big mistake if we do that. I think you got to fight over the screens. Now, Ja Morant, for whatever reason, when he plays the Knicks, he gets hot from 3, but I still think you got to test it. Go under the screen if you got to. If he starts to knock down a couple, then go over the screen. Have your big guy hedge a little bit and let the guard battle to get back.
Yeah, this is also some a key feature of the Grizzlies offense, the pick and roll, because they have great screeners, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Steven Adams.
Yeah.
They can set a solid screen.
Right.
So, that might be an Achilles heel for the Knicks defense as well.
Yeah. And Ja Morant so far this season is he's actually shooting 38.5% from three. So maybe you don't want to go under the screen. Never mind. Go over the screen. Make him, go over the screen. Fight over the screen. Don't allow him to shoot the three, and then make sure your big is hedging, not switching. Just hedge until the guard can get back to Ja Morant. You know what I mean? I seen someone earlier say Emmanuel Quickly may be your best option on Ja Morant. I think Quickly and Quentin Grimes are going to be two guys that you see on Ja Morant the most tonight.
Yeah. No, listen, there's also a tactic that you could try to get the ball out of Ja's hand and try to double him really high. Mm-hmm. And then you just got to be worried if he's going to cut and they're going to find a passing lane to him. Listen, I think for a guy versus a guy like Ja Morant, you gotta have to throw each and every tactic and option possible on the defensive end, because you never know what's going to work on a certain occasion. So
yeah, Gregor Castillo said it's the only way to defend in the NBA. Switch everything, but gotta have the personal big, but gotta have the personnel, big guards, long athletic wing, and mobile bigs. I mean, I don't know if it is. I don't think you have to switch on every single possession. The Knicks switch. If somebody cuts through the baseline, the Knicks switch that player. You know what I'm saying? You see it all the time. Someone cuts through the lane. They don't have the ball. They're not setting a screen. Someone cuts through the lane and they switch. A bunch of switching happens. And I just feel too many times it leads to a mismatch. Either a big guy like Jeremy Grant, defended by Jalen Brunson, or a guard like Mitchell Robinson, defending Anthony Simons, like we saw versus the Portland Trailblazers. I would rather play zone than switch. You know what I mean? I'd rather play some kind of matchup zone than just switch on every single occasion. I don't want to say every single occasion, because I don't know if they switch that much, but they do a lot of switching. They do a lot of switching, especially, I mean, if you say you got to have the personnel to switch, then I'm going to say the Knicks don't have that personnel. I can understand RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and let's say Cam Reddish is in the game. I can understand those three guys switching, right? Because the height and size, Julius Randle has a lot more size, but the height difference is there. I mean, the height, is close. There's not a big height difference, but switching between Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, or Randle and Mitchell Robinson. Yeah, I don't know. I just think when teams see that you are going to switch on every single pick and roll, they start to say, "Oh, right, well, we want Ja Morant to go against Mitchell Robinson." So whoever Mitchell Robinson is defending, go set the screen for Ja Morant, because we know they're going to switch it. You know what I'm saying? And defense and offenses start to pick it apart. That's what I see. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to head up out of here. I appreciate your time. I do want to bring light to this. If you are interested in attending the game on January 13th in Washington, D.C., if you're from D.C. or the DMV area, or you're in Baltimore and you want to attend that game with MBK, I put a link and I tagged it to the top of the YouTube chat. All right, I just need your information and how committed you are to actually attending the game, so I can contact Capital One Arena and we can get that whole thing situated. All right, and we'll be looking to do some fun stuff, maybe some pregame podcasts or whatever. We'll see how it all works out. All right, but make sure you click that link, fill out the information that's in the link, so I can contact you and we can get that thing rolling. That's January 13th. It's a couple of months away, about a month and a half away or something like that. All right, so if you're interested, make sure you fill out that link and let me know, so I can be in contact with you and we can get that thing squared away. Andy, before we get out of here, any last things you want to say before I get out of here?
Well, Sam, just to add, if Brunson is a no-go, if Cam is a no-go, and D Rose is a no-go, and we have, for example, foul problems on the guards, and we don't see Fournier on the court by any means. Like I know that he's the last resort on this roster, but if we don't see Fournier, I think it might be Fournier saying that he doesn't want to be playing for the Knicks again, like more. Because listen, if he doesn't want to, get on the court when the team is so shorthanded, we might start, putting the finger and the blame a little bit on him.
Yeah. I mean, I actually think that's already a done deal. That Fournier.
Yeah. I think they're literally waiting till December 15th till the free agents that were signed this offseason can be dealt, and then they're probably working something out. That's why they don't want to get him anyway injured or anything like that.
Right.
But if your team is so short and they gotta play rookies or guys that have literally 500 minutes of experience on the NBA, not even that maybe, then that might be something that they asked you to play, but you said, listen, you didn't play me, when they had the rotation and I had the minutes. And let's be serious, Sim. I think Fournier is actually the only player that was held accountable this year because he was playing bad defense, fans said. Probably the numbers said that too. So he got benched. We see RJ is not getting held accountable. Julius is not getting held accountable for years now. So, listen, I think he's the only one that got held accountable this year. And I would love Tibbs to hold accountable all the guys. So
yeah, we'll see what happens. I think I agree. I think Fournier is ready to roll. You know what I mean? And probably, yeah, I dig it. Andy, I appreciate your time, man. We're gonna head up out of here. All right, and ladies and gentlemen, again, if you're interested in attending the Knicks versus Washington Wizards on January 13th in Washington, D.C. with NBK, make sure you fill out the form that I just dropped in the chat. It's also in the description of this video because we want to get that organized ASAP. All right? Looking forward to seeing anyone who's in the D.C. metro area, Baltimore area, Virginia, or if you just want to come down from wherever you are, be looking forward to it. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're out of here. Be peaceful. One.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
On the live show?
On the live show. Right. I don't do it because I'm afraid people are gonna leave off.